Hello, viewers. Welcome to this chat session. There is virtually no business today that is not on the digital transformation journey. But just as application architectures and operating models are transforming to meet the needs of application and businesses, so must application services. Digital transformation will therefore also breed a new generation of application services that are more aware, more automated, and more capable of acting on insights produced by advanced analytics. To explore various aspects of enterprise applications, we have with us Mr. Dhananjay Ganju, Managing Director, India and SAARC for F5. In this role, Dhananjay is responsible for driving F5's growth strategy in these regions. Prior to F5, Dhananjay has held leadership roles across leading organizations, including Nortel, Juniper Networks, and Microsoft. He also had an entrepreneurial stint. Dhananjay holds a graduate degree in electronics engineering from Bombay University. Welcome, Dhananjay.
Yash, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me and speaking with you.
Great. To start off with, Dhananjay, how crucial is digital transformation in the post COVID 19 world? How should cybersecurity evolve in the new normal?
The COVID-19 definitely is an unprecedented in the history of mankind. We haven't seen such a situation before, and it has brought up its own unpleasant surprises. So we hope to see the back of this pandemic as soon as possible. Though broadly referred to as digital transformation, the businesses, the companies across any vertical that you might choose are becoming more and more application centric with a single goal or with a couple of goals in mind. And these goals are becoming more launching new services, becoming more cost efficient, and of course, securely delivering the digital experience to the end customer. So that, in a nutshell, is what digital transformation is doing. It's very interesting that I read a report. It's called the State of Application Services Report from F5. It comes out every year, and it kind of tracks what's happening in the world of application and application services. I was pleasantly surprised. The most aggressive country on the planet adopting digital transformation today is India. While the global average is 80%, India is at 90%. So we are kind of a step ahead of the others. And this journey started earlier, and COVID-19 kind of just gave it the impetus it needed. So I think India is well ahead of the others in terms of adopting digital transformation. One of the other things that you asked was what should the organizations be doing given that we're facing such. The first thing is, we kind of turn the ratio around. Usually organizations plan for about 10% of the workforce to be remote, 90% of the workforce to come to a physical office, and that ratio was turned on its head. Now 90% of workers are remotely. So the first and foremost, the IT organizations had to grapple with how do we get this remote workforce sitting at home securely connected to our data centers and continue to operate. I think in the second one would be, and I think there are 4 points that I have in my mind. The second one is collaboration. Human beings need to collaborate. Organizations and the people inside the organization need to collaborate. So such a tool as we are using today, a collaboration tool, became extremely important. And then business continuity planning. It's one thing to do business continuity planning when you're sitting or standing inside your data center, and it's completely different when you're not even close to your data center. So a lot of organizations had to rewrite their BCP processes just to ensure that if they were faced with an event such as BCP, they would be able to manage changing over to another disaster location. And lastly, I would say that in the journey of digital transformation, security at times is forgotten, and it should be made integral to the journey that companies are taking for in process of digital transformation.
Sure. Great, Dhananjay. Great to hear that India is at the forefront of adopting digital. That's really heartening to know. But CISOs and other C-suite members, I feel, need to focus more on innovation rather than manage day-to-day threats. So, what role do you think can managed services play in improving competency and ensuring security, impact, and value? Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, great question. Managed services, though, it's not new to us and not new to the IT organizations or organizations that have a large IT wing. But I would say that there are three things that can be considered or are crucial. Let me start with the first. which is skill set. I have been around in the networking and application industry for almost 27 years. I have been fortunate enough to see a large amount of transformation take place in just simple technologies that we have been using. And that the rate of change earlier on in my career was not as enhanced as I see now. So, simply put, skill set that are needed to keep pace with how technology is changing itself is a big challenge. So, managed services gets you that skill set that you may not want to focus on because your core business is not managing IT. Secondly, I would say it's time. By the time you put everything together in terms of your people, your technologies, you're probably behind the market, and you don't want to lose time to market because that is what businesses can be made or destroyed. You're not timing the market right. And lastly, and this is a no-brainer, cost. Managed services, or rather secure managed services, offer far more cost advantage and allows an organization to focus on their core businesses. This is what I think managed services would bring in. And with that in mind, F5 launched last year their own managed services around WAF, Web Access Firewall, and Web Application Firewall, and DDoS services. And with the acquisition of Shape Security earlier part of this year, we have also launched bot protection and fraud protection as a managed services. So you don't really need ponytail engineers in your own organization.
Great. Great, Dhananjay. So we can see that F5 is already aligning to the new trends that are emerging in the market. Great to hear that. Moving on, Dhananjay, in today's world, apps can be deployed not necessarily on the cloud. They can be on-prem, they can be on public cloud. But one thing that arises because of more cloud environments is complexity. So how do you think CISOs and technology leaders can get robust security with respect to multi-cloud application services to deliver differentiated, high-performing, and secure digital experiences?
So yes, a part of the is for one to explore technologies that can be deployed not only within your own data center, but use the or rather leverage the scale that is available to you or to a customer of ours across multiple clouds. So the journey starts small. You take a process, you kind of put it either in your data center or on a cloud. However, and then you realize that going to one cloud is probably not enough, and you start putting those applications across multiple cloud. That brings in its own set of complexities that I'd like to focus on. One is, do I know how many applications I have? Do I know where they're deployed? Do I know what is the performance of those applications? So as soon as you start flowering out of your own data center across multi-cloud environments, these complexities come to fore, and F5 has solutions around all these. The other thing that one should be very aware of, and I'd like to focus greatly on that, is if there is a partnership between industries or companies that are going to the cloud and the cloud vendor. It's a partnership. It is not as if when you take your core applications on the cloud, you should not automatically think that they're already secure. Please remember, cloud vendors have an obligation to secure their platform. They don't have an obligation to secure your applications. Application security is the responsibility of the company itself. So things like, given that we are in an environment where we have seen increased traffic by hackers, bot protection becomes extremely important. Web application firewall to protect you from vulnerabilities protect your applications from vulnerabilities becomes extremely important. And attacks against DDoS attacks and DNS attacks, these are some of the things that organizations and the CISOs will have to carefully craft as they take their applications to the cloud environment. And then once you take them, please build in enough control so that these applications are visible to you. They can be managed by you quite easily by putting in the right tools.
Sure, Dhananjay. Like you just said, the onus of securing applications lies on the enterprise itself. So how does F5 help CISOs in tackling fraud, friction, and web abuse?
Good question. At the beginning of this month, or rather at the beginning of this year, F5 did a very important acquisition. We acquired a company that leads in the space you just mentioned in terms of web and mobile fraud and abuse. A company called Shape Security. All of Shape Security solution focus around two things: web to prevent web fraud and to prevent mobile fraud and abuse. That's the key focus that we drive, and we call it. We have an acronym. We call it the 3F strategy, and I'll describe the 3Fs to you. It starts with the first F. Starts with fiction. So today, I was pleasantly surprised myself, or rather shocked at times, when we analyze the traffic of, let's say, let's take an example of B2C. Could be a bank, or could be an e-commerce company, could be an airline company. When you observe and analyze the traffic that is coming in, about 90, I wouldn't be surprised, about 80 to 90% of that traffic is completely automated, and about less than 10% of the traffic is humans. And when we plot that traffic and see, we can see the jagged graphs of automation traffic right on top and the human traffic right at the bottom. And the human traffic follows the binaural rhythm, right? You come in the morning, you log in, and then in the evening you log off, and this traffic kind of sinusoidally continues across. Whereas the bot traffic goes up and then remains up. Now, our first job in terms of fiction is to differentiate what is machine and what is human. And then if this machine is not good traffic, because there are good bots and bad bots, and almost 80% of the HTTP traffic today is bot, you drop off the machine traffic completely and you keep the human traffic. So that's fiction. Separating machine from human beings is fiction. Second is fraud. Fraud is you've allowed human beings to come into your network now. Now it's not necessary that the human being that you've allowed is a good human being. They're bad actors and there are good actors, right? So the second job with fraud becomes what analysis I can do with signaling on Shape Security that allows me to differentiate a good actor from a bad actor and drop the bad actors out. So now you have finally got a validated, authentic user that has come into your network that just wants to transact business and not do anything funny. And the last one is friction, and that's really interesting. And what we're saying is, when you allow the first person to come in, you probably use multi-factor authentication so that the user has to enter a OTP or some other way that you're validating the user other than username and password. And if that user who's entered once, and you've already defined that user is a good user now, and for some reason the session drops. So if this user was shopping on an e-commerce website and this session dropped, and if this user were to come back again, companies force this user, which is already identified as a good user, to go through the entire process of authentication all over again. And we have seen that a lot of users just drop the cart and move on because they have kind of not ready to put an OTP all over again. So friction, our job is to reduce this friction. And once we have identified a good user, and if the user comes back in again with the signaling, we do identify as the same user. We do not want to send all sorts of multi-factor authentication messages to this user. Allow that user to continue, thereby reducing friction between the e-commerce website and the user, improving the whole experience. And we've seen about 1 to 2% revenue increase for those e-commerce clients that have deployed the friction, avoiding friction technology of Shape Security.
Sure. Great, Dhananjay, for giving us the lowdown on how F5 is managing security of applications. That's a really very comprehensive approach to application security. Moving on, Dhananjay, F5 has got a very differentiated strategy that focuses on code to customer. Can you throw more light on this approach? It'll be great to hear more on this.
Yeah, so for F5, we're 25 years in the application business. So our long-standing belief is that applications are the most valuable assets for any organization in the digital age. And that has been the foundation of our strategy to be the leaders in the multi-cloud application services. For code to customer, it's a bit of a story that I'd like to kind of weave here. So imagine a user again, an e-commerce user with a mobile application that is about to press a button so that he or she can see what is the inventory, or whenever he or she is maybe just paying for something. Any transaction that a mobile application is driving means every time I press a button, the message goes back to an application which is residing on a server, right? And then the server is able to react to that and quickly provide that answer to the question or the query that a user might have. Now, all of that seems very seamless in our day to day, but if I were to kind of rewind and walk you through the various steps that are involved in delivering this code, the application which we call the code, to the end user, it's a complicated, complex path that a lot of organizations need to manage. Step one is just the way you write the application. You may have written the application in the best possible format that is available today, but if this path is not clean enough for you, then the experience that the end user get is also not very clean, and the whole purpose is defeated. So in the earlier days, this application was written what we called in a monolithic fashion, which meant that it was a serial code, and anytime you need to change this code, you had to kind of literally rewrite the application, or at least start crunching that application all over again. So F5 has been accelerating and protecting monolithic applications for donkey's years. That's how applications have been written in the past years. Coming to recent days, applications are now written in a more containerized fashion, in a more microservices environment, where applications are broken up into small chunks and pieces that need to talk to each other for it to become a whole, right? And now let's take the path. So whether it is a monolithic application or application meant for a cloud written in a containerized fashion, F5 has the solutions to manage both. But the moment the application starts reacting, there are 13 different technologies, believe you me, 13 different technologies that the click has to transverse before it reaches the mobile application of the end user, right? And without going into deep into those 13 technologies or 13 steps, which also means the complexity of the IT environment increases, because now what we define as tool sprawl. There are so many tools, 13 of them, that I need to manage discretely because each one of them is doing a different function. F5, with its acquisition of Nginx, has brought this tool sprawl from 13 to just 3. So if organizations were to deploy F5 technology, we'll make this application look far better and give a great digital experience to the end user. That's what we call as code to customer.
Wow, great approach there, Dhananjay. So while we talked about how accelerating digital transformation would be really critical in the post-COVID era, there are no two ways about it that security budgets and overall the IT budget is going to get impacted in the short to the medium term. So against this backdrop, in such a situation, how do you ensure that CISOs have that flexibility in consumption models? How is F5 supporting technology leaders on this front? Because that is going to be really critical going forward.
Absolutely brilliant question, and something that comes at when we are engaging with a client. I wish this is discussed upfront rather than discussed by a procurement team much later. So what we have done now is we not only talk to our clients about our technology, we also talk to our clients about what are the various ways they can consume our technology, right? So F5 has got 5 different ways that our technology can be consumed. And first of all, if I were to take a step back, our technology started by being an appliance. So you could consume it as an appliance in a perpetual model. And the next thing that happened, and this happened almost about 4 years ago, we converted the appliance into a piece of software, right? So when you convert some appliance, a fixed appliance, into a piece of software, that software is movable. So I can use it in my own data center. I can take it to any cloud, right? So that was the first big change that F5 drove in terms of its journey of allowing its use of a software without any loss of technology or function as compared to an appliance. Now, when you have a piece of software, you can consume it as perpetual if you wanted to. We have absolutely no problem. You can pay one time and then you keep on paying for services. The next best or equally best, or rather every method that I will talk about will meet a certain aspect of finance for a company, is subscription. So you don't have to pay anything upfront. You pay in subscriptions of months, right? And you sign up for a year, or you sign up for 2 years or 3 years. Or you can pay what you consume in a pay-go methodology. So you pay for what you're consuming. So that's what we call as pay-go. Fourth, you can consume us as an ELA. So if you have consumed any of the large software vendors in the world, you probably understand enterprise license agreement, and F5 can be consumed as an enterprise license agreement. And we can show the benefit of an ELA, where we allow the client to spin up and spin down any of our technology at any time without having to come back to F5, thereby creating a frictionless model. And you continue to consume F5 without asking us, give me a WAF now, give me a DDoS protection now, give me a load balancer now, give me a remote access management technology now. You could just do it yourself. We'll just give you that capability, and you start consuming. And we have a big IP license manager. You don't have to figure it out. We have a license manager that manages all your licenses for you, so that at any moment in time you have visibility of what you have spun up, right? And you know what you're consuming. So that's the fourth way. And lastly, to your question earlier that you had asked, in managed services, we have as a service model. So WAF, DDoS, shape security, these kind of technologies you can consume in a as a service model, and you don't have to deploy any complexity in your own data center. We'll just do it for you in a managed services way. So
Sure.
these are the five methods of how F5 can be consumed today.
Great, great, Dhananjay. Moving on, there's a term which is finding a lot of, which is becoming really popular these days. It's called the data capital. What are your thoughts on this term, data capital? How is it linked to enterprise applications, and how critical are they today in today's times?
Yeah, data, as they say, data is the new oil, right? But we have a spin to it, and let me take you kind of a century behind, almost, just to understand the genesis of the word. What we call as application cap, with greater focus now that organizations are putting on application. So if I were to take you behind, if you were to look at the industrialized era, or when industrialization was happening, you defined a company because they had a large company, and their capital was a lot of machinery, big buildings. So that was the physical capital era, right? Where your how big you were was defined by how much machinery you had in the industrial revolution timeframe. And then came the era of human capital, and you saw companies like McKinsey and IBM sprout up, where human beings were making a big difference in the world. So that was the era of human capital. Given that most organizations across industries have a huge focus on application, and if you were to look at, can your organization survive if your applications were dead? You will not be able to work at all. So we are now in an era of application capital. So these were the three eras, and we are firmly in space of application capital, and digital transformation and multi-cloud application are just taking this to a more serious level.
Sure, sure, Dhananjay. So one final question before we wrap up this session. What message would you like to give out to enterprises?
it, Please remember, we are far away from where our workplaces are. um, we are all working from home, we are remote, and there are many bad actors at this moment in time that are taking huge advantage of the fact that you may not have protected your assets, your applications, the way you should have. My sincere advice to the organizations today would be to ensure that your assets at all layers are protected. Usually, I've seen organizations stop at layer 3. I've put a firewall, I should be okay. That's just not okay. That's just the layer 3. What about your layer 4 to layer 7? What about protecting your assets, which we define as application capital? So if there is one message that I would like to give to our listeners here today, would be that look beyond layer 3, protect your applications, which means make sure you have a web application firewall that is protecting vulnerabilities. You have tools that are checking spurious traffic that is coming through and you've built bot protection, please remember 90% of the web traffic is automation. When you take 90% of the traffic away from your network, you probably will realize you don't need a big network, right? That's the first reaction I see from my clients saying, hey, 90% of my traffic was spurious. Why have I put in a huge infrastructure when 90% of the traffic is not needed at all? So build in those checkpoints for your applications and protect them really well is what I would say to our listeners today.
Sure. Great. So, dear viewers, that's all we have time for. We hope this chat with Dhananjay will help you all in managing your enterprise applications more holistically. Thanks a ton, Dhananjay, for those insights. And thank you all attendees for sparing time for this session. Have a good
Thank
day
you.
ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Yash.